The crystal palace of Vitros gleamed under twin suns, its massive towers reaching toward the purple sky like frozen lightning. Inside the throne room, Emperor Quartzius sat on his diamond seat, his body made of pure quartz that sparkled with each breath. His crystal guards stood at attention, their blade arms sharp enough to cut through steel. "My lord," spoke Commander Flint, his granite voice echoing through the hall. "The Outer Rim reports are ready." The Emperor's ruby eyes glowed, brighter. For 300 years, the Crystalline hegemony had ruled the galaxy with fear. Their secret weapon was simple but deadly: water. Just a few drops could melt any carbon-based life form in seconds. Their enemies called them the Crystal Death, and for good reason. Commander Flint stepped forward, his obsidian armor clicking against the crystal floor. He had led 1,000 battles and never lost. His fleet of crystal ships could destroy entire worlds with their hydrobombs. Each bomb contained pure H2O, the most dangerous substance in the known galaxy. "Tell me about the new sectors," the Emperor commanded. 17 new worlds conquered this cycle, my lord. The water bombs worked perfectly. The furry folk of Kalos Prime dissolved in minutes. The plant people of Green World lasted only hours. Flint's voice carried pride. "Total casualties on our side, 0. Emperor Quartzius nodded. This was how war should be: quick, clean, and completely one-sided. The crystal beings had discovered long ago that water was their perfect weapon. While other species fought with lasers and missiles, the crystalline forces simply sprayed water. "Game over." "What news from Scout Captain Granite?" the Emperor asked. "He should return soon from the Far Rim exploration, my lord. His mission was to map the outer territories for new conquest targets." The great doors of the throne room suddenly opened. Scout Captain Granite marched in, his crystal form flickering with excitement. His emerald body showed stress cracks, a sign he had seen something important. "My Emperor," Granite called out, dropping to one knee. "I bring strange news from the Outer Rim." "Speak freely, Captain." Granite stood up, his form still trembling. "My lord, I have found something impossible. A world covered in water, but it is not empty." The throne room fell silent. Commander Flint turned his diamond head toward the scout. Emperor Quartzius leaned forward on his crystal throne. "What do you mean, covered in water?" the Emperor demanded. "My lord, the planet is 71% liquid H2O. Vast oceans cover most of its surface. But somehow billions of creatures live there. They call themselves humans." Commander Flint laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Impossible. Nothing can survive in pure water. You must have made a mistake." "I saw it with my own sensors, Commander. These humans not only live near water, they swim in it. They drink it, they use it for everything." Emperor Quartzius stood up from his throne, his quartz body glowing with anger. "You are telling me that carbon-based life forms live in our ultimate weapon?" "Yes, my lord. But there is more. They have covered their planet with this water. Their cities sit next to vast oceans. Their ships float on the surface of liquid death itself." The Emperor began pacing, his crystal feet making sharp sounds on the floor. This news changed everything. For 3 centuries, water had made the crystalline hegemony unstoppable. No enemy could stand against hydro bombs. But now, a species existed that somehow lived with water every day. "Perhaps they are not truly carbon-based," suggested Commander Flint. "Maybe they are silicon creatures like us hiding in underwater crystal cities." Scout Captain Granite shook his emerald head. "I scanned them carefully, Commander. They are made of carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and other soft elements. They are exactly the type of beings our water should destroy instantly." Emperor Quartzius stopped pacing. His ruby eyes burned brighter as he thought. If these humans could somehow resist water, they might pose a threat to the hegemony. But more likely, they had simply never faced a proper water attack. A few hydro bombs would clear up this mystery quickly. "Commander Flint," the Emperor ordered, "prepare the 3rd battle fleet. Take 50 crystal ships and standard hydrobomb loads. This water world will make an excellent addition to our empire." "Yes, my lord." Flint saluted, his blade arm gleaming. "How many humans should I expect to face?" According to my scans, Granite replied, approximately 8 billion of them cover the planet. Commander Flint laughed again. 8 billion? My lord, a single hydro bomb can eliminate millions. This will be over in one day. Emperor Quartzius nodded. Exactly what I was thinking. These humans have probably never seen real warfare. They live on a water world, so they clearly do not understand how dangerous H2O can be. We will teach them. Should I prepare for ground invasion after the bombardment? Asked Flint. No need, the Emperor replied. After the hydro bombs fall, there will be nothing left but empty oceans, perfect for our crystal colonies. The other crystal officers in the throne room began discussing the new conquest. Admiral Slate suggested using the water from Earth's oceans to make more hydro bombs. General Stone wanted to study how so much water could exist in liquid form. Most planets froze their H2O solid or boiled it to gas. But Emperor Quartzius was already planning beyond the conquest. A world with that much water could supply the EO, hegemony's weapons for 1,000 years. They could build hydro bomb factories in Earth's oceans. The Crystal Empire would become even more powerful. Commander Flint, the Emperor said finally, I want you to record everything. This conquest will become a training video for future crystal warriors. Show them how even the strangest enemies fall to our water weapons. It will be my honor, my lord, Flint replied. Should I offer them surrender terms first? Emperor Quartzius considered this. Sometimes it was fun to watch enemies panic before they dissolved. Yes, give them one chance to surrender. Tell them about our hydro bombs. Let them understand what they face. Their fear will make the victory sweeter. Understood, my lord. When do we depart? Immediately. I want this Earth conquered before the next crystal harvest begins. This should be quick work. As Commander Flint left to prepare his fleet, Emperor Quartzius returned to his diamond throne. Soon, another world would bow before the crystalline hegemony. These humans would learn, as all carbon-based life had learned, that water meant death. The crystal ships began launching within hours, their hulls gleaming as they headed toward the outer rim. None of them suspected that they were flying toward the one species in the galaxy that had made water their greatest ally instead of their greatest fear. Commander Flint's crystal ship cut through space like a diamond blade. Behind him, 49 other ships of the 3rd Battle Fleet followed in perfect formation. Their crystal hulls reflected starlight as they moved toward the outer rim where Earth waited. Inside his command chamber, Flint studied the data scout Captain Granite had collected. The numbers seemed impossible. 71% water coverage, 8 billion carbon-based life forms, cities built right next to vast oceans of liquid H2O. Commander, called Lieutenant Quartz from the navigation station, we will reach the target system in 6 hours. Excellent, Flint replied. Signal the fleet. Prepare hydro bomb bays for immediate deployment upon arrival. Yes, sir. Should we charge the crystal cannons as well? Flint's ruby eyes dimmed with amusement. Against creatures who live next to water, the hydro bombs will end this before we need any other weapons. As the fleet traveled deeper into space, Flint reviewed the crystalline hegemony's perfect war record. 300 years of conquest. 0 defeats. The hydro bomb had made war simple. Deploy water, watch enemies dissolve, claim the empty world. Every single time. But something about Earth bothered him. How could any species survive constant exposure to H2O? Even the toughest carbon-based creatures died within minutes of water contact, yet these humans apparently swam in it for fun. Lieutenant? Flint called out. Display the Earth scans again. The holographic image appeared in the center of the command chamber. A blue and green world spun slowly, white clouds swirling across its surface. Flint could see the massive oceans clearly. Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Arctic. More water than some entire star systems contained. Look at those ocean sizes, whispered Sergeant Amber from the weapons station. The Pacific Ocean alone contains more H2O than our entire hydro bomb stockpile, which makes this conquest even more valuable, Flint reminded her. After we clear the surface of life, we can harvest that water for centuries of future wars. The crystal beings had learned long ago that water was rare in the galaxy. Most planets kept their H2O frozen solid or boiled into gas. Liquid water was precious, deadly, and perfect for warfare. Earth apparently had more liquid water than any world they had ever seen. "Commander," Lieutenant Quartz reported, "we are receiving strange signals from the target system." "What kind of signals?" "Radio waves, sir. Thousands of them. The humans appear to be communicating across their entire planet simultaneously." Flint moved to the communication station. The signals were indeed everywhere. Voices, music, data streams, all flowing between different parts of Earth constantly. The sheer volume was amazing. "Can you understand any of it?" Flint asked. "Some of it, sir. They speak many different languages, but I am detecting military communications as well." This caught Flint's attention. "Military? Show me." The communications. Officer Captain Ruby filtered the signals. Soon, clear military chatter filled the command chamber. Voices discussing ship movements, radar contacts, and defensive positions. "They know we are coming," Ruby reported. "Impossible," Flint said. "We are still 4 hours away, and our ships are crystal stealth-enabled. The signals suggest they detected us when we entered their star system, sir." Flint considered this. Perhaps these humans were more advanced than Scout Captain Granite had reported. But it did not matter. Advanced technology meant nothing against hydrobombs. "Sir," called Lieutenant Quartz urgently, "we have visual contact with Earth now." The main screen lit up with a real-time view of the planet. Flint stared in wonder at the swirling blue oceans. He had seen many worlds, but none like this. Water everywhere, yet somehow teeming with life. "Magnify the populated areas," Flint ordered. The screen zoomed in on the eastern coast of a large continent. Cities stretched along the shoreline, their lights visible even from space. But what shocked Flint was seeing the cities built right up to the water's edge. Some structures actually extended over the oceans themselves. "They build their homes next to our ultimate weapon," Sergeant Amber whispered in amazement. "Not just next to it," Captain Ruby added, studying her sensors. "I am detecting thousands of vessels moving across the ocean surfaces, ships made of metal, carrying humans directly on top of liquid water." Flint moved closer to the screen. Sure enough, white wakes traced across the blue oceans as countless ships moved between continents. Aircraft carriers, cargo vessels, fishing boats, cruise ships, all floating on the deadly liquid that would dissolve any crystal being in seconds. "How is this possible?" Lieutenant Quartz asked. "Perhaps," Flint said slowly, "they coat themselves in some protective substance. Or maybe they have developed immunity through generations of exposure." "Should we change our attack plan, sir?" asked Sergeant Amber. "No," Flint replied firmly. "Immunity or not, concentrated hydrobomb attacks will overwhelm any defense. We will simply use more water than usual." The fleet continued toward Earth, but now Flint felt something he had never experienced before: uncertainty. Every previous enemy had shown proper fear of water. They built their cities far from any H2O sources. They used energy shields to deflect hydrobombs. They understood that water meant death. But these humans seemed to celebrate water. Their cities surrounded it. Their ships rode on it. Their very bodies were apparently comfortable with constant moisture exposure. "Commander," Captain Ruby called out, "I am receiving a transmission directed at our fleet." "From Earth?" "Yes, sir. It appears to be an official greeting." Flint straightened in his command chair. "Put it through." The main screen flickered, then showed a human face. The creature had smooth skin, small eyes, and spoke in clear galactic standard language. "Unknown vessels approaching Earth," the human said calmly. "This is Admiral Davis of the United Earth Defense Force. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions." Flint activated the response channel. "I am Commander Flint of the Crystalline Hegemony 3rd Battle Fleet. We claim this world for the Crystal Empire. You have one opportunity to surrender unconditionally." Admiral Davis showed no fear. In fact, the human seemed almost amused. "I see. And what happens if we decline your generous offer?" "Your world will be cleansed with hydro weapons. Every carbon-based life form will be dissolved. Your cities will become crystal colonies. Now Admiral Davis definitely smiled. Hydro weapons? You mean water? Liquid H2O deployed in concentrated bombardments, the deadliest force in the galaxy. The human actually laughed. Commander, I think there might be some confusion here. Are you seriously threatening to attack us with water? Flint's crystal form began glowing with anger. You dare mock the weapon that has conquered 300 worlds? No mockery intended, Admiral Davis replied. It's just that we use water for drinking, bathing, and swimming. My morning shower contained more H2O than most weapon systems. The transmission ended, leaving Flint staring at a blank screen. Around him, his crystal officers stood in stunned silence. Sir, Lieutenant Quartz said quietly, did that human just say they shower in our ultimate weapon? Impossible, Flint muttered, but doubt crept into his voice. 2 hours until attack range, Sergeant Amber reported. Commander Flint looked out at the blue world ahead. Something was very wrong here, but he had his orders. The 3rd Battle Fleet would attack as MA planned. He just hoped Emperor Quartzius was right about this being an easy conquest. Commander Flint stood in his crystal command chamber, watching Earth grow larger on the main screen. The blue ocean seemed to mock him now, but he pushed away his doubts. The 3rd Battle Fleet had never failed. Today would be no different. All ships report ready for hydro bomb deployment, announced Lieutenant Quartz. Target the largest population centers first, Flint ordered. New York, London, Tokyo. 3 direct hits should demonstrate our power. The crystal ships moved into attack formation above Earth's atmosphere. Below them, the planet continued its peaceful rotation, unaware that death was about to rain from the sky. Hydrobomb bays open, reported Sergeant Amber. Weapons armed and ready. Fire, Flint commanded. 3 massive water bombs dropped toward Earth's surface. Each one contained enough concentrated H2O to dissolve an entire city. Flint watched through his sensors as the deadly payloads fell through the atmosphere, trailing vapor as they descended. The first bomb struck the Atlantic Ocean near New York. Flint expected to see the city's lights go dark as billions of gallons of weaponized water spread across the land. Instead, something impossible happened. The ocean absorbed the hydrobomb completely. No explosion. No spreading death cloud. Just a small splash, like dropping a pebble into a pond. What? Flint stared at his readings. That's impossible. The 2nd bomb hit the Thames River near London. Again, the water simply joined the existing river flow. No devastation, no dissolved buildings. Nothing. The 3rd bomb landed in Tokyo Bay with the same result. A harmless splash in water that was already there. Commander, Lieutenant Quartz said nervously, the hydro bombs appear to have had no effect. Impossible, Flint roared. Deploy 20 more bombs. Saturate the entire eastern seaboard. A barrage of water weapons fell toward Earth. Each one contained enough H2O to kill millions of any normal species. But as they struck oceans, lakes, and rivers, they simply merged with the existing water. The deadly weapons became just more drops in an endless sea. Sir, Captain Ruby called out, urgently, I'm detecting movement from the planet's surface. The main screen showed something that made every crystal being freeze in terror. Ships were rising from Earth's oceans. Not just a few ships, hundreds of them. Massive gray vessels lifting out of the water like sea monsters awakening from sleep. Those are warships, Sergeant Amber whispered. But they were hiding underwater. Admiral Blake stood on the bridge of the USS Leviathan as it broke the ocean surface. Around her, the entire Pacific Fleet was emerging from their underwater positions. Submarines, destroyers, carriers, all rising from the depths where they had waited. All ships report ready for combat, her communications officer announced. Good, Blake replied, watching the crystal ships above. Let's show these rockheads what humans do with water. On his crystal ship, Commander Flint watched in horror as more vessels appeared. These humans weren't running from the water weapons. They were coming out of the water itself. How are they surviving direct H2O contact? Lieutenant Quartz asked. Before Flint could answer, the human ships opened fire. But instead of energy beams or missiles, they fired water. Massive streams of high-pressure H2O shot up from the ocean surface, striking the crystal ships with devastating force. The first blast hit Lieutenant Quartz's ship directly. The concentrated water stream punched through his crystal hull like it was glass. Inside, crystal beings dissolved instantly as weaponized H2O flooded their compartments. "They're using our own weapon against us," Sergeant Amber screamed. More water cannons fired from the human fleet. Admiral Blake watched with satisfaction as crystal ships began breaking apart under the hydro assault. These aliens had made a fatal mistake. They brought water weapons to fight the species that had mastered water. "Target their command ship," Blake ordered. "Full pressure on that big crystal bastard." The USS Leviathan's main water cannon rotated toward Commander Flint's flagship. The weapon drew directly from the ocean below, creating a focused stream of liquid death. Flint saw the attack coming but couldn't believe it. Evasive maneuvers. How are they weaponizing H2O? The water stream struck his ship's port side. Crystal armor dissolved like sugar in rain. Flint's command chamber filled with deadly moisture as hull breaches spread throughout his vessel. "Abandon ship," Flint ordered. But it was too late. The water was everywhere, eating through crystal walls, dissolving equipment, turning his mighty warship into cosmic dust. Flint managed to reach an escape pod just as his flagship crumbled. As the pod ejected, he looked back to see his entire fleet under attack by impossible enemies. Human ships moved through space like they were still sailing on Earth's oceans, firing water weapons with deadly precision. But the real shock came when Flint saw how the humans moved their ships. Instead of conventional engines, they used water propulsion. Massive jets of H2O pushed the vessels through space at incredible speeds. They were literally surfing through the void on streams of liquid death. Captain Torres led the second wave of human ships up from the Indian Ocean. Her vessel, the HMS Tsunami, specialized in close-range water combat. As crystal ships tried to flee, she pursued them with aquajets that could slice through any material. "This is incredible," Torres said to her crew. "They really thought water would hurt us." "Should we capture some for interrogation?" her weapons officer asked. "Negative. These aliens just tried to genocide our entire species. No mercy." The space around Earth became a graveyard of dissolved crystal ships. What had started as 50 vessels of the mighty Third Battle Fleet was now just scattered debris floating in the void. Commander Flint's escape pod drifted helplessly as he watched the massacre. His crystal body was cracked from water exposure, but he was alive enough to see the impossible truth. These humans didn't just survive water. They had turned it into the most advanced weapon system in the galaxy. A human patrol ship approached, his pod. Through the viewport, Flint saw Admiral Blake herself looking back at him. Her expression showed no fear, no surprise, just cold determination. "Commander Flint," Blake's voice came through his communication system. "This is Admiral Blake of Earth Defense. Your attack has failed completely." "Impossible," Flint croaked through his damaged voice box. "Water is death. Water dissolves everything." Blake smiled grimly. "Commander, humans are 60% water. We don't just live with H2O, we are made of it. You just brought water guns to fight the ocean itself." Flint's pod was pulled into the human ship's bay. As he looked out at Earth's blue surface, he realized the terrible truth. The Crystalline hegemony had found the one species in the galaxy that could turn their ultimate weapon into humanity's greatest strength. The Crystal Empire's perfect war record was broken. And somehow, Flint knew this was just the beginning of their problems. Emperor Quartzius paced his crystal throne room, his quartz body flickering with rage. The news from Earth had shattered 3 centuries of certainty. Commander Flint's entire fleet, destroyed. Not defeated, not retreated, completely dissolved by creatures who used water as naturally as breathing. "Impossible," the Emperor roared, his voice cracking the crystal walls. "Water is death. It has always been death." Admiral Slate stood before the throne, his obsidian form trembling. As the Emperor's military advisor, he had to deliver more bad news. "My lord, the situation is worse than we first thought. Our intelligence network reports that other species across the galaxy have heard about Earth's victory." "What do you mean?" Quartzius demanded. "The furry folk of Kalos Prime are calling it The day water failed. The plant people survivors are spreading stories about humans who swim in liquid death. 17 conquered worlds are asking the same question. If water can't kill humans, what else can they do? Emperor Quartzius felt something new and terrible: fear. For 300 years, the mere threat of hydrobombs had kept the galaxy in line. Now one small blue world had proven that the Crystalline hegemony's ultimate weapon was useless against the right enemy. "Assemble the Grand Armada," the Emperor ordered. "Every crystal ship in the Empire. I want Supreme Admiral Obsidian to lead, personally." "My lord," Admiral Slate said carefully, "perhaps we should study these humans first. Learn their weaknesses before—" "No!" Quartzius's shout made the throne room shake. "We crush them now before their victory inspires rebellion across the galaxy. 100,000 crystal ships. Enough firepower to crack planets. These water swimmers will learn that the Crystal Empire does not accept defeat." 3-star systems. Away, Supreme Admiral Obsidian received his orders with grim satisfaction. The most feared commander in Crystal history, he had personally overseen the conquest of 50 worlds. His flagship, the Diamond Fist, was the largest warship ever built. "Admiral," his aide Captain Marble reported, "the Grand Armada is assembling. 100,000 ships from across the Empire." "Excellent," Obsidian replied, his diamond body gleaming with anticipation. "And the new weapons?" "Crystal hardening shields installed on all vessels, sir. The Science Division believes these will resist water attacks long enough for us to deploy the new strategy." Obsidian nodded. The Emperor's scientists had worked desperately to understand the Earth defeat. Their solution was elegant. If water dissolved crystal hulls, then make the hulls harder than any water could penetrate. But Supreme Admiral Obsidian had his own plan. Instead of hydrobombs, he would use pure kinetic force. Asteroid bombardment, plasma cannons, gravity weapons, anything except water. These humans might have mastered H2O, but they were still soft carbon-based creatures. On Earth, Admiral Blake stood in the new Global Defense Command Center, watching displays that showed crystal ships gathering across 3 star systems. The intelligence was clear. The largest military force in galactic history was coming to Earth. "Admiral," Captain Torres reported, "satellite surveillance confirms over 90,000 crystal vessels so far, more arriving every hour." Blake nodded calmly. She had expected this response. When you embarrass a galactic empire, they tend to take it personally. "Status report on the Poseidon project?" Blake asked. "Ahead of schedule," replied Dr. Wells, the lead scientist. "We've converted half the Pacific Ocean into our primary weapon system. The Atlantic and Indian Ocean networks will be online within days." Blake smiled. While the Crystal Empire gathered its forces, humanity had been busy. The Poseidon project was humanity's answer to galactic warfare: turn Earth's oceans into the largest weapon system ever created. Captain Torres pulled up holographic displays showing the project's scope. Underwater factories stretched across ocean floors producing water-based weapons at impossible rates. Massive pumping stations could launch ocean water anywhere in the solar system. The planet's entire hydrological cycle had become a military resource. "The asteroid belt stations are ready too," Torres added. "We've captured over 3,000 ice asteroids and converted them into kinetic water bombs." Blake nodded with satisfaction. Let the Crystal Empire bring their 100,000 ships. Earth would show them what happened when you declared war on the species that had turned water into an art form. Meanwhile, Supreme Admiral Obsidian's Grand Armada jumped through hyperspace toward Earth. The crystal ships filled space like a metallic storm, their hulls gleaming with new protective coatings. Obsidian stood on his flagship's bridge, confident that overwhelming force would succeed where subtlety had failed. "Admiral," his navigator Lieutenant Titanium reported, "we will reach the target system in 6 hours." "Signal all ships," Obsidian commanded. "Deploy in maximum spread formation. I want Earth surrounded completely. Nothing escapes." But as the Crystal Fleet approached the solar system, they encountered something unexpected. Human ships were already waiting for them, not near Earth but scattered throughout the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Captain Torres commanded the advance fleet from her flagship, now renamed the Deep Current. Around her, 50 human vessels drifted silently among the asteroids, invisible to Crystal sensors. Crystal fleet entering sensor range, her tactical officer reported. Confirmed count, 112,000 vessels. Understood, Torres replied calmly. Signal Earth Command. Operation Ocean Storm is go. On Earth, massive installations across all continents activated simultaneously. The planet's magnetic field focused into tight beams, creating hypersonic water cannons that could fire across interplanetary distances. Ocean water, compressed to incredible densities, shot through space toward the asteroid belt. Supreme Admiral Obsidian watched his forward scouts suddenly explode into crystal fragments. Water streams, traveling at near light speed, were striking his ships from impossible distances. How are they firing from Earth, he demanded. That's over 200 million kilometers. Before anyone could answer, the real attack began. Human ships throughout the asteroid belt revealed themselves, using ice asteroids as ammunition. But these weren't normal ice chunks. They were precisely engineered water weapons, designed to shatter crystal hulls on impact. The HMS Tsunami fired the first barrage. A dozen ice asteroids accelerated to massive velocities struck Obsidian's left flank. Crystal ships cracked like eggs, their new protective coatings useless against kinetic water impacts. Return fire, Obsidian ordered. All weapons, the Crystal fleet unleashed everything except hydro bombs, plasma cannons, gravity weapons, kinetic missiles, all targeted at the human ships hiding among the asteroids. But the humans fought like nothing Obsidian had ever seen. They used water ice as shields, redirecting attacks with steam clouds. Their ships moved through space using water propulsion that made them nearly impossible to target. Captain Torres watched crystal ships dissolve around her as Earth's long-range water cannons found their marks. The humans had learned from the first battle. Instead of letting the enemy come to them, they had turned the entire inner solar system into a battlefield. All ships, Torres broadcast, remember what these bastards tried to do to our home. No mercy, no prisoners. The tide of battle turned quickly. Crystal technology, designed to fight water-fearing species, couldn't adapt to enemies who weaponized H2O at a galactic scale. Supreme Admiral Obsidian watched his Grand Armada dissolve piece by piece. As his own flagship began taking water damage, Obsidian realized the horrible truth. Humanity hadn't just defeated one crystal fleet. They had evolved into something the galaxy had never seen. A species that could turn the most abundant substance in the universe into an unstoppable military force. The Crystal Empire was about to learn that some enemies don't just survive your attacks, they make your weapons obsolete. 6 months after the Battle of the Asteroid Belt, Captain Rivers stood on the bridge of the USS Cascade as it entered orbit around Vitros, the crystal homeworld. Behind her, a fleet of human vessels followed. Not warships this time, but medical ships, supply vessels, and diplomatic craft loaded with the most precious cargo in the galaxy: water. The once mighty Crystal Empire had fallen in just 96 hours after their Grand Armada's destruction. News of Supreme Admiral Obsidian's defeat had spread faster than hyperspace communications. Across 300 worlds, species that had lived in terror of hydro bombs suddenly realized their oppressors could be beaten. Captain, her communications officer reported, "We're receiving a transmission from the surface. Emperor Quartzius himself." "Put him through," Rivers replied. The main screen flickered, showing the former ruler of the galaxy. Emperor Quartzius looked nothing like the proud, crystal being who had once commanded star systems. His quartz body was cracked and dim, his ruby eyes flickering weakly. "Captain Rivers," Quartzius said quietly, I welcome you to Vitros." It was the first time in crystal history that their emperor had welcomed anyone. Rivers nodded respectfully. "Emperor, we come in peace. Earth has authorized me to begin humanitarian aid operations." Quartzius actually laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Humanitarian aid. You bring water to beings who spent centuries fearing it as the ultimate weapon. The irony is complete." Captain Rivers understood his pain. The Crystal Empire hadn't just lost a war. They had discovered their entire worldview was wrong. Water wasn't the galaxy's most dangerous weapon. In the right hands, it was the galaxy's greatest tool for both creation and destruction. Emperor, Rivers said gently, we know your people are suffering. The economic collapse, the food shortages, the rebellions on former colony worlds. Let us help. Down on Vitros, the crystal cities were indeed crumbling. Without tribute from conquered worlds, the crystal economy had collapsed overnight. Worse, species across the galaxy were demanding reparations for centuries of oppression. But Emperor Quartzius had learned something important from humanity's victory. Sometimes accepting help from your former enemies was the only way to survive. What do you propose? He asked. Captain Rivers activated a holographic display showing human relief efforts across the galaxy. We've already begun operations on 17 former colony worlds. Medical water for the sick, irrigation systems for damaged farmlands, clean drinking supplies for refugee populations. The Emperor stared at the images. Human ships distributing the very substance his empire had used for genocide. But now it brought life instead of death. Children of species he had oppressed were playing in human-built fountains. Farmers whose crops had been destroyed by hydro bombs were now using human water purification systems. The furry folk of Callus Prime, Quartzius said slowly. They are accepting your help? More than accepting it, Rivers replied. They've asked to join the new Galactic Coalition for Mutual Aid. So have the plant people of Green World, the rock miners of Titan 7 and 43 other species. This was the revolution humanity had started without meaning to. By defeating the Crystal Empire with water, the weapon everyone had feared most, they had shown the galaxy that strength could be used for protection instead of conquest. Admiral, Blake appeared on a secondary screen from Earth. Emperor, I have a proposal. The Coalition needs experienced leaders who understand galactic politics. Your empire may have fallen, but your knowledge could help build something better. Quartzius was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked the question that had haunted him for months. How? How did you master what we feared most? Admiral Blake smiled. Emperor, your people see water as a weapon because you're afraid of it. We see it as life because we're made of it. When you threatened us with H2O, it was like threatening fire beings with heat or rock beings with stone. You brought our natural element to fight us. But the precision, Quartzius insisted, the way your ships move through space using water, propulsion, the long-range hydro cannons, the ice asteroid weapons, that level of mastery took more than natural affinity. Captain Rivers nodded. You're right. It took something else. Cooperation. Every human on Earth contributed to our defense. Scientists designed the weapons, engineers built them, farmers provided food for the workers, teachers trained the crews. 8 billion minds working together. This concept was foreign to Crystal society. Their empire had been built on domination and fear. Individual crystal beings followed orders without question. But humans had created something unprecedented. A species-wide collaboration that turned their entire planet into a unified defense system. The Poseidon Project, Rivers continued, wasn't built by one genius or one government. It was humanity itself, working as a single organism. Over the following weeks, former crystal colonies experienced something they had never known: genuine aid without conquest. Human medical teams treated diseases that crystal overlords had ignored. Human engineers repaired infrastructure damaged by centuries of resource extraction. Human teachers shared knowledge freely instead of hoarding it. Dr. Wells, now serving as Director of Galactic Rehabilitation, stood before the new Coalition Council on Harmony Station, a space platform built jointly by 12 different species. The council chamber was filled with representatives from across the galaxy, including several crystal beings who had chosen cooperation over conquest. The water distribution network is now operational in 47 systems, Dr. Wells reported. Clean H2O is reaching every inhabited world in the former Crystal territory. General Stone, the former Crystal military leader who had joined the coalition, added his own report. Security situations have stabilized in most sectors. The few remaining crystal hardliners are being dealt with by joint peacekeeping forces. But the real change was deeper than politics or economics. The galaxy had learned a fundamental lesson about power. For centuries, civilizations had sought the ultimate weapon, something so terrible that mere possession would guarantee victory. The Crystal Empire had found that weapon in water, but humanity had shown that true strength came not from wielding ultimate weapons, but from transforming them into tools of creation. The same H2O that had dissolved crystal fleets now irrigated farms on dead worlds and provided medicine to the sick. Emperor Quartzius, now serving as cultural advisor to the coalition, stood in his new office aboard Harmony Station. Through the transparent aluminum windows he could see ships from dozens of species moving peacefully through space. Many of them used water-based propulsion systems that humans had freely shared. Admiral Blake joined him at the window. "Any regrets, Emperor?" Quartzius considered this. His empire was gone, his people scattered across the galaxy as refugees and immigrants. But for the first time in his long life, the galaxy was at peace. "I have learned something," he said finally. "We thought water would melt us. Instead, it washed away our fear." Blake nodded. "Fear is the real enemy, Emperor. Water, like any force in the universe, becomes whatever we make of it. Your people made it into death. We made it into life." Outside the station, human ships continued their work across the galaxy. But they were no longer alone. Crystal beings worked alongside furry folk to build new cities. Plant people collaborated with rock miners to terraform dead worlds. The galaxy had learned humanity's greatest secret. That cooperation was stronger than any weapon. The age of conquest was over. The age of collaboration had begun. And it all started because one species refused to fear the thing that gave them life.